Iya Romania. Hai nina nina nai, teka tika tika tai. La 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 la, Martin Romania. La 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 la.
Good morning. I have a
La 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 la. La 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 la. I think I would like to make a survey question. Let's ask a survey question. Hello, Peter. How are you? Let's ask happy Tuesday. Yes. No. Let's talk again. Hello, Peter. I don't know if you hear this, but my neighbors are drilling something at 10. Hold, what time is it? It is 10:35. And it seems that my neighbors decided to, I don't know, maybe connect some furniture or something. So I decided to just like do some crochet, sing some songs. How are you? So Nadelina is right there. My doggy is right here. And my blanket is right here. I finished with the dark blue and I'm doing a white color. This is what I have thus far. Hold on. Maybe like this. Yay! So basically I'm repeating this order of the colors. So I'm here. This is how it looks once again. Let's listen to something interesting. Wait, how do I find it? La 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 la. I'm good, Peter. How are you feeling? How's it going? How is Tuesday? You know, I really like to watch a creator who also likes who also likes to knit and to crochet. So I propose we listen to her video. Her name is Nitty Natty.
so special and legendary.
And she's talking
and
about
how far in advance
Rhinebeck.
do I need to book a hotel? All of these and more will be answered in today's video.
Okay, let's hear what Natalie has to tell us.
Hey
And I'll
everyone, I'm
crochet
Natalie,
while
also known
listening.
as Nitty Natty. I am not a Rhinebeck expert, but I have attended it for the past 3 years. So I have put together
It is
this
in
guide of
the
helpful
United
tips
States of
and
America.
answers to your questions to help you have the best Rhinebeck trip ever.
Okay.
Rhinebeck is the New York State Sheep and Wool Festival. It actually
Did they
started
bring
about
live
40
animals?
years ago as a smaller event for shepherds and has blossomed into the mega fiber event that you know today.
As you can see, I am struggling once again with knots. Like all the yarn that I'm using in this beautiful blanket. Hold on, I'll show you once again. All the yarn, I mean most of the yarn, is from just like started projects that I never finished, and then I just decided to unravel everything, or reclaimed yarn that my mom unraveled. So they all have knots, which I do not like. Okay, I think I'm gonna have to start. What is happening with my neighbors? Mamma mia. Never mind. Let's listen to Nitty Natty.
It is located in Rhinebeck, New York, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours north of New York City, depending on if you go by car or by train. Let's be clear that the festival itself is called the New York State Sheep and Wool Festival, but colloquially by knitters and crocheters, this event and all of its surrounding events for the weekend is referred to as Rhinebeck. But what actually makes it so special and
Is
so
it a
legendary?
village?
So I don't really know. I tried to do some research here and I'm going to refer to my notes. So I can make an educated guess with some of the clues that I found on their website, like that they started posting results of the sheep and Angora goat competitions in 2007. This becomes an important year. In that same year, the New York Times shared an article about the festival, which leads me to believe that somewhere around 2007, more knitters and crocheters started to learn about the festival, and therefore more people started to attend. I remember the first time I learned about Rhinebeck was from Stephanie Pearl McPhee, aka the Yarn Harlot. She started writing about it as early as 2004, which, as far as I can tell, was her first time attending.
So 10 years
It wasn't
ago.
actually 2004 when I learned about it. It was a few years later, but it's killing me because I can't find the exact blog post from her that I first read about it. But it was something about the infamous Rhinebeck sweater. This legend began when Stephanie and a few of her friends decided to knit a sweater that they would eventually wear at Rhinebeck. But of course, they kind of decided it more last minute, and then they were racing to finish it in the car on the way to the event. I'm not saying that she alone invented the Rhinebeck sweater phenomenon, but it's definitely the first place that I heard about it. Rhinebeck today is a full weekend of events, starting with indie events on Thursday and culminating with the New York Sheep and Wool Festival on Saturday and Sunday. Typically, this takes place in the third weekend of October, and this weekend it is October 19th and 20th. And now that we have the groundwork in place, let's get into some more logistics to help you plan your trip. It's relatively cheap to get a ticket for the New York State Sheep and Wool Festival. It's just $13.50 if purchased in advance and $15 at the door. This is per
What? You need to pay to get
in.
in?
Under are actually free to attend, which is why you'll see a lot of local families bring their kids. There's also a lot of animals and different exhibits to go see. Now, all the Thursday and Friday events have their own tickets, their own website, and they're not associated with the Sheep and Wool Festival. So you'll need to find out about those events directly from them and purchase their tickets directly from their website. What time should you arrive? So this is kind of an opinion-based question, but I'm going to give you my opinion. So the festival itself starts at 9 a.m. both Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday, it goes until 5 o'clock. And on Sunday, it goes until 4 o'clock. I think as long as you arrive before 11 a.m., you'll be totally fine. The crowds really start to pick up around noon, lunchtime. So in an ideal world, I would try to arrive between 9 and 10. That way you can get yourself like into the fairgrounds, back into all of the different barns where all of the yarn is, do a little shopping before things get really crazy and really crowded. How is the parking? So if memory serves me right, there are several different parking lots on different sides of the fairgrounds.
For me, it's also always very interesting. What are the Q&As? Like one of the questions I hear about this festival and others, it's about parking. Is it such a difficult thing to do in the States? I thought that they have parking everywhere. Like in Eastern Europe, parking is a big problem because the city Chisinau was not designed with so many cars in head. But other cities, it's so strange. Or maybe she's talking about the vendors that bring, like a whole truck load of products. Let's listen. I'm still unclear.
Some are gravel, some are grass. I can't remember if there's a paved one. There might actually be a paved one. There's also a couple of accessible parking lots that are all on the map on the website. Because some of the parking is grass, we decide not to bring our van and not to drive it to Rhinebeck, just because if it were to rain, it would be kind of tricky to get out. But as long as you have just a regular sized car, SUV, you should be totally fine. And I think as long as you arrive before 11, you should be okay as far as getting a parking spot. Just plan to do a little bit of walking to the entrance. People also come and go all day long. So if you're arriving later in the afternoon, I believe some people will have cleared out already. So parking really shouldn't be a problem, but definitely carpool if you can. How many people attend? So according to the Duchess Tourism website, this event draws around 30,000 people
Oh my
throughout the
God.
weekend, which also brings up the question, how bad are the crowds? It honestly depends on the day and time, but the absolutely worst, aka most crowded time, is on Saturday between about 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock. This is when everyone is either getting lunch or meeting up on the hill to do meet and greets, and it all just kind of convenes in this one place and just makes it really tricky to get around. So if you want to avoid crowds, I would recommend coming either early on Saturday morning and trying to leave or like find a spot to sit and take a break in that peak hour, or come later in the afternoon. If you have the time, Sunday is honestly a totally different vibe. I know it can't always be possible if you're doing a day trip to come on Sunday, but Sunday just all day long is a much chiller vibe. It's much better if you're maybe introverted or just want to avoid crowds in general. I would recommend coming on Sunday instead.
I mean, I would argue that even as an introvert, I can enjoy big crowds,
and also
because
accessibility at
I
the
don't
same
need to
time.
talk to
While this is
everybody.
something that I can't say I've experienced firsthand, I wanted to just share as much information as I could possibly glean, both from the website and from my personal experience being there in person. Something
Tell us,
really important
Natty.
to note is that they no longer rent scooters or wheelchairs at the fairgrounds. They have a note on the
Why?
website that says they do not have any scooters or wheelchairs this year, which makes me think they might have in the past. But I know there's a possibility to rent through a third party, so just make sure you have that planned out in advance. All of the major paths are paved. But I will say that there are some hills that you might have to navigate. There are maybe some, slightly rougher spots in the concrete that you might have to navigate. So just keep that in mind. Now, there are buildings and there are barns. Both are actually covered structures, but the barns are only like covered on two sides and you walk through them. Those are going to
How
have a
big
little
is
bit of
this
a rougher
place?
ground. There is some kind of like harder, I don't know if it's concrete or something, but then typically there's a little bit of hay, maybe a little bit of dirt, especially when you go off the main path and go into the booths themselves. The buildings are larger structures that are completely enclosed, and those are entirely like hard flooring. So those will be a little bit easier to navigate. You can find this map on the New York Sheep and Wool website underneath Essentials, but I wanted to walk you through just a little bit of the layout to kind of help you find the lay of the land. Let's look first at where you can enter in. There are 3 different gates to enter. Welcome Gate 1, this one up in the front, and then this one in the back. I've actually only ever been in these 2 that are closer to the road right here, but I know you can get into the back one too. If you walk into this one, Welcome Gate 1, you're going to walk down this path right here. In this area, all right here, is the hill. That's what people refer to when they're going to meet up. It's also a great centralized place to kind of communicate where you want to meet. If you walk into this gate here, there's a parking lot right here. You're going to come down this way all along all of the food vendors, and then come right here. And this area is like a really crowded crossroads sort of area. I removed all that because this is going to get too crowded, and I've just marked where the hill is. So I want to note a couple of important things like
It's quite
bathrooms,
big,
places to
actually.
rest, and
Hold
also
on.
places to shop.
How
So let's
big
talk
is
about the
this
shopping first,
thing?
because that can kind of help you get your bearings. Everything up here is a barn, pretty much.
Oh my
Some of the things are
God,
called
it is
different
quite
things, but
big.
these are referred to as the barns. There is so much shopping here. It can be easy to get a little
No
lost because you
wonder
go in and out of the
30,000
barns and
people
you're like,
come.
wait, where was I? But there are numbers on them, so refer to the numbers. The numbers will also help you find like certain vendors if you get one of those booklets in the beginning. Then down here are the buildings. These buildings are in my opinion, they're like a little bit larger than the barns. I think they are. And those are the ones that I was talking about where they're completely enclosed. It's a good place to go, kind of, get out if it's hot or something, get out of the sun. If it's raining, get out of the rain. The barns are covered too, but they're open on the sides, so they may not be as good
It
for
looks like a
weather
city,
protection.
actually.
If you're looking for a place to rest, there are actually quite a few places. So in this kind of like central area, I'm trying to figure out where it is here on the map. I think it's like right here, like in between the buildings and this place that has like a little line on it. And like right here, there are a bunch of benches just like lining the street, but you won't always find yourself crossing that street. They might be this way too. Just kind of navigate this little area and you'll find a bunch of benches. There are also a ton of picnic tables like down here, kind of at the crossroads of everything behind some of the food vendors. And then there are a whole lot more that are actually covered right here near one of the main entrances. Bathrooms. So there is a bathroom that's like right here, which again is at that major crossroads. Like you're not going to miss it no matter what entrance you come into. You're not going to miss that crossroads. It's also usually where like the merch tent is. You can also get a view of the hill, a view going up to the barns. There's a bathroom right there, kind of on the
Hello.
corner. If it's crowded, don't go to that bathroom because it's a smaller bathroom. My favorite bathroom is if you cross in front of the hill and go up this way right here. This is a larger bathroom. There are more stalls. And even when the line is at the door and moves extremely fast, you'll be in and out of there in about 5 minutes. As far as I know, there is not a designated like quiet space as I've seen at some other larger events. But I do have a favorite little spot that I like to go to that oftentimes isn't exactly like super crowded. It's not in the quietest space, actually. It is, I'm trying to explain, it is like kind of where this crossroads is. And like right by the hill, it's like right here in the corner. There are a handful of benches and it's kind of covered by trees. Because it's in sort of a central place, most people just pass right by it. But if you walk by and you happen to see that nobody's up there, you can kind of get a secluded space to just watch the crowds from a distance. With those logistics covered, I'd love to share with you some things to bring with you to make it the best day possible. This is the ultimate time to show off your favorite handmade items. It could be a sweater, it could be a hat, or anything in between. There is no one that is going to appreciate your handmade items more than other knitters and crocheters. Definitely wear layers. It could be 50 degrees, it could be 80 degrees, and it could be all of those things in one day. If you don't have a t-shirt on underneath your sweater, make sure you bring one with you because there's nothing worse than feeling hot and sticky in wool. Also, in case it gets cold, make sure to have a hat. Sometimes the temperature can drop very quickly or vary between days, and you might want to bring a jacket or an umbrella in case it rains. Also, wear shoes that you don't mind if they get a little dusty or a little muddy, again, in case it rains, but also you're walking around in an area where there are animals, where there is hay, where there is dust and dirt. You don't really want to wear your best shoes, and you also want to wear something that is comfortable for all day long. Bring cash for food vendors. Not all of the food vendors are cash only, but it really stinks if you stand in line for 30 to 60 minutes only to find out you can't get your food because you don't have any cash. And if you get into the food lines between noon and 1 o'clock on Saturday, expect to stand in a long line. It can be best to kind of divide and conquer if you have a group, like, hey, you go over there and get everyone something, one of these items, you go get one of these items. That way you can all convene and, spend your time the most efficiently. The other thing to note is if you don't really want to stand in those lines, you can be risking the vendors running out of food. That happened to me last year where I thought I'll just wait until all the crowds are gone until about 2 or 3 o'clock. And then two of my favorite vendors ran out of food. Speaking of my favorites, you have to try the Brussels sprouts if you like them. They're delicious. They are cash only. And the lobster mac and cheese. And maybe crab mac and cheese. I need to go back and look. Should I bring snacks with me? I think that's a brilliant idea to bring snacks with you. Also bring a water bottle. I cannot recall if there is a water bottle fill in the fairgrounds. I really can't remember last year if I used that or not. So maybe bring a couple of water bottles so that you don't run out. But having snacks on hand is definitely going to help you, whether you get hungry at any point in the day or even while you're waiting in a long line for lunch. It can kind of hold you over until you're able to get that food. Bring a suitable bag. So I cannot find any bag regulations on the website, although I feel like there was something with having a large backpack because we were bringing in our filming equipment last year. Backpacks are not always great in crowds anyway. You end up bumping into people and things and you can't even see it. So bringing a lightweight bag that's not going to make you feel uncomfortable carrying it around all day, plus something that is maybe can like expand or get a little larger as you make purchases, hold all of your essentials that isn't going to hold you back, is going to be a really great bag to bring. You'll also want enough space in your bag to put your sweater when you inevitably need to take it off because it gets too warm. Now, there is a bag check option in the fairgrounds. So if you get too many things to carry around, or maybe you don't want to run things back to your car, you can use that option. Is it dog friendly? Sadly, no, the fairgrounds are not dog friendly. I could find that statement on their website. I think it has something to do with the fact that there are lots of animals there. So there are sheep, there are alpaca, there are shows going on. There's a lot of different things going on there. So please don't bring your pets. They have stated that on their website. I also couldn't find a statement about service animals, but federal and New York state law permit service animals in public spaces. I feel like the majority of attendees do stay in the area. I don't know if that many people actually that are like knitters and crocheters are coming from the local areas. Maybe they are, but to me, it seems like a lot of people, even if they're an hour or less away, will find a place to stay in the area for that weekend. So where can you stay? Rhinebeck is a smaller town, and out of the two times that I have stayed up in the area, the first year I took the train up from New York City, I have never stayed in Rhinebeck itself. So let's look at a map. So from Rhinebeck, there are two towns just across the river, Kingston and Saugerties. Both of these towns have more options for Airbnbs if you can't find something in Rhinebeck. Kingston is maybe slightly closer, it's about 20 minutes away, whereas Saugerties is more like 30 minutes. But if you look closer, the bridge where you have to actually cross the Hudson is somewhere in between the two. Something you may want to consider when you're choosing where to stay is what you're doing on Friday. If you're going to a Friday event, these events are typically held on the west side of the river. So you may say, oh, you know what, maybe I'll stay in Saugerties. It's
So
closer
many
to where
details.
my
I don't
event
know
is,
how
or
you people
maybe I'll stay in
focus.
Kingston or somewhere else. Another great option is Poughkeepsie. It's also about 30
All
minutes
of
away from Rhinebeck, but on the east.
I actually thought that Rhinebeck was something that awards the participants for coming. But from what I understood, you need to pay an entrance fee and then you shop the goods, which are very expensive. It's very expensive to get there, to be hosted there. Basically, everything is expensive. That's what I understood. And you need to be able to plan everything, drive.
Side of the river to the south. There are also dozens of smaller towns in between. Honestly, if you just start looking for somewhere, you're going to find something close by. It's not unusual for people to drive a half an hour up to an hour to attend Rhinebeck. If you don't mind driving further and you are looking for like a cute town to stay in, Beacon and Newburgh are also great options. Beacon is on the east side of the river. It's super cute. Newburgh is just across from it. I haven't been there, so I can't really speak to it exactly, but I've also seen people stay there or maybe even stop in on the way up. Number one question, or at least the question that I got asked the most, is how far in advance do I need to plan? So you've probably heard before people say that they plan everything out a year in advance. They're
Jesus.
booking their Rhinebeck Airbnb
A year in
the minute that they leave
advance?
Rhinebeck the year previously. And honestly, I think
2,
that's pretty
4,
true. We've
6,
done
8,
that
10,
because we found a
12.
place that we really like and we don't want anyone else to get it. So we're like, okay, let's go ahead and book for the next year the
What?
second that we know the dates. But I think while you may have more
What
options
if
if
you
you go
die
ahead
in
and
the
book a year in
meantime?
advance, you're not totally like unable to go if you don't do that. The further ahead you plan, the more options you're going to have. But I've also heard people come up like last minute and find somewhere to stay. You just have to be a little more open minded. You might not be able to stay in a hotel. I think Airbnbs are a little more common. The towns that these are held in are not the largest towns. So they don't always have like the infrastructure to support 30,000 people coming in. But there are lots and lots of Airbnb options, smaller bed and breakfast. And then as you get further away, more hotels will pop up too. If you want to get a better sense of the festival and the surrounding events, I've created blogs for the last 3 years covering both the New York Sheep and Wool Festival itself. I've covered Cake Palooza, India Untangled, and some of the yarn shops nearby. I'll make sure I have all of those linked down below, but you can also just find them by searching Rhinebeck and Nitty Natty. They should pop up. What kind of things can you do if you don't stay at the festival all day? I am honestly the worst person to ask this question for, so I'm going to need your help if you have attended or been to Rhinebeck and the surrounding towns and have done other things. I honestly feel like time just flies once you get there on Saturday to when the festival is closing. Like time just flies and you don't even realize that it's already over. So as far as other things that I'm doing when I'm there, it's basically attending the events and then going to dinner. There's not really much else that I'm doing.
That sounds
We like
like
to
so
go
much
en masse
fun.
to Kingston. We actually stay in Kingston. There's a lot of great restaurants there. There's a yarn shop there. You can kind of explore the other towns around it. It can be challenging to eat in Rhinebeck itself, especially on Saturday, just because a lot of people will just go right over to downtown, or I don't know if they call it downtown Rhinebeck, but it's kind of like one main street, lots of cute little restaurants. So get reservations on Saturday if you can well in advance, either in Rhinebeck or Kingston or whatever, because they will get filled up. Are there any annual West Coast events that compare to Rhinebeck? So I've only been to 2 events on the West Coast. I've been to the Rose City Yarn Crawl in Portland, and I've been to Flock in Seattle. The Rose City Yarn Crawl is, of course, completely different as it's a yarn crawl going to different yarn stores, although it is a wonderful event. You should definitely go if you can. And then Flock, I would say, is comparable as far as the shopping goes. Like the shopping at Flock is incredible, but it's not exactly the same event. Like you can't really compare them because they're just different. Flock is inside a convention center. It's mostly about the shopping. There are other things going on. There is the social aspect of it that they did a really good job with this year, like having an evening time and also having different like tables and spaces to gather. But it's just not quite exactly the same as Rhinebeck. Rhinebeck is held outdoors. There's, I guess, more like there's a lot of food, there's a lot of opportunities to gather and to chat. So they're just completely different events. Those are the only ones that I can speak to because that's all that I've been to. So if you know of any events that are happening on the West Coast that are comparable to Rhinebeck in any way, definitely let us know and share those in the comments. Is it worth it? Is it worth traveling across the country to go to Rhinebeck? Is it worth going yearly or maybe just once? I think it's worth it, but I think probably just once. So let me explain. This is, of course, my opinion, and so you would have to go yourself to see and formulate your own and see which one's going for you. But let me kind of justify why I think going once is probably the best thing. So this can be a wildly expensive trip, especially if you're coming from the West Coast.
This shop is located in Shaker Heights in the
What did I press on?
What is Rhinebeck?
No, don't
what
start
makes
from the
it so
beginning.
special and legendary? And how far in advance do I need to book a hotel? All of these and more will be answered in today's video. Hey everyone, I'm Natalie, also known as Nitty Natty. I am not a Rhinebeck expert, but I have attended for the past 3 years. So I have put together this guide of helpful tips and answers to your questions to help you have is definitely going to help you whether you get hungry at any point in the day or even while you're waiting in a long line for lunch. It can kind of hold you over until you're able to get that food. Bring a suitable bag. So I cannot find any bag regulations on the website, although I feel like there was something with having a large backpack because we were bringing in our filming equipment last year. Backpacks are not always great in crowds anyway. You end up bumping into people and things and you can't even see it. So bringing a lightweight bag that's not going to make you feel uncomfortable carrying it around all day, plus something that is maybe can like expand or get a little larger as you make purchases. Hold all of your essentials that isn't going to hold you back. is going to be a really great bag to bring. You'll also want enough space in your bag to put your sweater when you inevitably need to take it off because it gets too warm. Now, there is a bag check option in the fairground. So if you get too many things to carry around, or maybe you don't want to run things back to your car, you can use that option. Is it dog friendly? Sadly, no, the fairgrounds are not dog friendly. I could find that statement on their website. I think it has something to do with the fact that there are.
So I'm gonna continue watching and then going to bed because it is quite late. It is midnight. No, not midnight. It is 11 p.m. However, I'm very tired. It's been such a long day. I've had a very long conference with a lot of twists and turns, so I'm gonna say goodbye. Jaina paused. Hello there. Thank you. Hello. Hello, everybody. Please make sure to vote if you care. Double click the screen if you would like to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. And my cat is right